cotton balls, duct tape, spoon,
Needle?
thread, scalpel.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television, and we're also carried by a number of our radio affiliates throughout Fairfield County. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week, and we've got a great couple programs coming up. We're going to talk to Jeff Dixson. He is our school resource officer for Lancaster High School, and for our viewers and listeners that may not know, the Sheriff's Office provides school resource officers for now 4 different school districts. Canal Winchester, which is the latest, and Fairfield Union. We've been out there for many, many years. Pickerington North, and certainly here in Lancaster, at Lancaster High School and beyond. Jeff, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Sheriff.
And school resource officer and almost a 20-year veteran of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Let's talk a little bit about you and a little bit about your background, family, and how you got started in law enforcement.
Well, I mean, as far as I can remember, I wanted to be a cop ever since I was probably about 5 years old. Saw that cop come into school and thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Like I said, graduated high school, went into the United States Marine Corps, came out of the Marine Corps, and then pretty much got the job at the Sheriff's Office.
Married, children?
I'm married, have 2 children. My kids go out to Fairfield Union.
Okay. Now, did you go to Lancaster High School? Are you local here out here?
No, I grew up down in Florida. Graduated outside of Tampa, Florida.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So most people are leaving Ohio to go on to Florida. So how did you get from Florida to Ohio?
Well, the best way I can describe it is my family moved down there, so the rest of the family had some place to come for vacation.
There you go.
And then when we grew up, nobody came down to visit anymore, so parents moved back up.
I've got it there. So you've been around for a long time. What are some of the different assignments that you've had since you've been with the Sheriff's Office?
With the Sheriff's Office, when I first got in, I got into the mounted unit, which we still currently do have. We just don't do a lot of events anymore with the horses. Went with the canine unit, and then basically worked in our radio division, our jail division, and our patrol division. And now I'm currently assigned to Lancaster City Schools. And
you're also a SWAT deputy.
Correct.
If you go back to and you look at the past 20 years, what's some of the biggest changes you've seen within the community, or maybe even within law enforcement during this past 20 years?
The biggest change is, more people are calling us for help than they ever have before. I think everybody tried to handle situations on their own, and now they're more apt to call law enforcement for help instead of trying to deal with the situations on their own. As far as law enforcement, technology. We've moved so far in technology. I remember driving around, you used to have to unfold that map.
Right.
And you're trying to drive and read a map at the same time. It gets kind of difficult. Now the car tells you where to go.
Yeah, how about that? I often have mentioned this. I started with the Washington, D.C. Police Department about 43 years ago. And at that time, of course, we didn't have bulletproof vests. We had a 6-shot revolver and didn't have portable radios. And so when you walked a beat in Washington at that time, every half hour, I believe it was every half hour, or maybe every hour, you would go to a call box on a walking beat and call in to headquarters, and they'd check and see if you're okay. And if you didn't call in, they'd send cruisers down to check for you. And if you arrested someone, you would walk them to the call box, you would call in, and then the cruiser would come and transport them. So big changes. I think today officers and deputies are better trained, better equipped than any time in our history.
Yeah, I mean, here recently, I mean, we've got a lot more training than we've ever had. I mean, you know, just like we just had our first aid and CPR and AED training.
Right. And that, for our viewers or listeners, Fairfield Medical Hospital is nice enough to give us 12 of the AEDs, and for our folks that may not know what that is, that's kind of a portable defibrillator.
Yes.
And very simple to use. It kind of talks you through how to use that, and they save lives. So all of our frontline cruisers and a lot of our buildings are going to have those, thanks to Fairfield Medical that provided us. Let's talk a little bit now about school resource officers. For our folks that are viewing or listening today that may not know what a school resource officer does or some of their responsibilities, let's kind of start with what are your responsibilities each and every day at Lancaster, and where all do you work?
Well, I mean, the biggest responsibility is the safety and security of all the students and the staff in the building. You know, my office is out at Lancaster High School. That's where I'm based out of. And, you know, here last year, the city of Lancaster actually joined in with Lancaster City Schools to help patrol their elementaries and junior high schools. Because like I said, I'm only one person, you know, there's 12 schools. I can't be in each and every one of them at every time. So Lancaster City plays a big role in helping also. But, you know, like I said, the biggest thing is making sure the buildings are secure, make sure there's no suspicious people outside. We do patrols outside, I do patrols inside. You know, over the tour, I mean, I'll be in a cruiser, I'll be on a bicycle, I'll be on a golf cart, I'll be on a mule, I'll be on a quad runner. I mean, you never know what I'm going to be in, so it's pretty hard to keep track of me.
And how many years have you been out there, Jeff?
This will be my third school year.
Third school years. What's the biggest surprise?
Well, I mean, the biggest surprise that I think I got thrown into when I took over that none of the other school resource officers out there did was I have interaction with the whole student body at activity periods is what the school calls them. I have the whole auditorium one day a month where I have half of the school in the auditorium, and you know, we have people come in, teach them about curfew, about drugs, about alcohol, about drinking, you know, underage drinking, distracted driving, seatbelt usage, trying to get messages across to them.
And I think something that will sometimes bad information gets out there, or rumors or things that just are kind of urban legends, so to speak, is the reality is that most kids do what they're supposed to do. Most kids do not use drugs. Most kids are not involved in bad illegal behavior. We did a youth behavioral survey that included Lancaster High School, and what it showed was just there was a very small percentage of the student body overall that is involved in these kind of things. Is that some of the things that you think's correct?
I think it's very correct. I mean, I would say, I don't know the exact numbers. I've never really looked them, but you know, my personal opinion, I'd say 97% of your student body is great.
Right.
You know, that other percentage is where your problems are, and I think those problems can be turned and re-guided if they have the structure to do it. You know, it's just like a lot of the old myth, you know, if you got a problem speeding down your street, you know, all that stuff, it's the teenagers. You know, we did a study last year with the Highway Patrol on seatbelt usage. You know, everybody's like, teenagers don't wear seatbelts. Well, 97% of the student body at Lancaster High School that drives wears their seatbelt. They had no idea they were there. The Lancaster High School staff didn't even know they were there, and they monitored all the lots. So those are good numbers when you don't know it's coming.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that, and the staff does a great job out there. I think you've been doing a terrific job. I've heard a lot of good things from the superintendent, the principal, and a lot of the people that work out there at Lancaster High School. What's one of the common kind of problems that you do see with the students that you come across?
Yeah,
or is there one thing in particular?
There's not really one thing in particular. I mean, there's not a set problem that's there.
Okay.
I mean, every day it's a different issue. It's a different problem. A lot of stuff that we deal with, that school deals with, is bullying. But it's not going on at school, it's starting outside of the school and just gets carried into the school. Starting out on Instagram, Facebook, Xbox Live, and all that stuff where you have these chat rooms. That's where everything is starting at.
I would think you probably have made a lot of friends since you've been there, and a lot of the students that you've become kind of interact with.
There's a lot of them. I've got kids that's in college, not my kids, but kids at the high school that's in college. They email me, keep me up to date. They'll stop by the school on their breaks to see me and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun.
And I think that the impact that you or any school resource officer has is pretty dramatic. To this day, I remember folks that will come up to me, and they're grown men, they're your age or older, and they'll talk about Jimmy Smith, who was the school resource officer. He's since retired. In fact, I haven't seen him around for a while, but they'll talk about when Jimmy was out there at the school, like in maybe even the 70s or
Yes.
80s, and they'll talk about, his example to them.
Yeah, you make a big example. Like I said, I got into law enforcement because a cop came and did a presentation at school that I was at.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and as I said, it was about, I think, fifth grade, and that's where I got on that venture. So you do make an impression, and like I said, to have a positive role model there that they can talk to, I'm accessed. They can access with me not 24 hours a day, but while I'm at the whole school, they have total access to me if they need it.
Now, do you have occasion when kids will come to you and talk about a particular problem, or maybe let you know that there's something kind of brewing within the student body, or something that you need to be aware of?
Yes, they come talk to me, or they come down and talk to the deans. We'll have open door policies for that. Like I said, no kids turned away. If somebody wants to talk to me, they can talk to me. They talk to me outside in the parking lots. With them, we use last year's example. A lot of stuff that we did, by the kids talking, we saw burglaries in Lancaster. We did get some drugs out of the school. And we did get some weapons out of the school that we dealt with last year, just because of the kids stepping up and saying something.
Now, the other thing that you're involved in throughout the year, and you've approached me about getting some things through the sheriff's office, is some charitable type events.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that. You have a bowling program, and you have a football camp, or that you've got some direct involvement in?
Yeah, the biggest one is through the Quarter Cares Foundation. It's set up by Jimmy Cordell. He went to Lancaster High School. He played for Ohio State, and now he plays for the New York Giants. He comes back every year and has a football camp for, I think it's 5th to 7th grade kids. And like I said, we help sponsor that thanks to you. And like I said, I think this year there's 180 kids there at that camp. It's a one-day camp. The camp's totally free to all the kids. Because of sponsorships from us and the local banks and everybody else that sponsors. If it wasn't for that, each kid would, I think they said it'd be like $30 or $35 a piece to be there. And it's not just Jimmy Cordell there, he brings other professional football players down with him. And these are through the summer. And then the next event is Bowling with the Buckeyes. And that's also through Quarter Cares Foundation. And it's out at Tiki Lanes. They bring a bunch of Ohio State Buckeyes down. They put them on each of the bowling lanes, so you get to bowl. You have your team plus one Buckeye. You start bowling, and I think it's every 15 to 20 minutes. They'll switch Buckeyes on your lane, so you'll have a different Buckeye on your bowling lane throughout the whole night.
Oh, I bet they have a great time.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet you have a lot of fun.
I have a lot of fun, and just like those camps there, the sheriff's office is involved in it. I'm involved in it. My daughter donates her time at both of those camps also.
Good for you. Jeff, we're going to be out of time in just a couple of minutes. Do appreciate you being here. I'd like to have you back next week and just find out during your 20 years in law enforcement, we can talk about this next week, what's one of the things that come to mind? What's one of the most memorable things that come to mind? And then maybe we even talk a little bit about the SWAT team, and then thirdly, maybe what you see as the future for school resource officers. If you see that more school districts coming on board for that. And so we'll talk about a host of things next week.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
Jeff Dixson with us, our school resource officer from Lancaster High School. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week on This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, and certainly the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy, JT Burcham and the folks that put this program together each and every week, not only for our television viewers, but also for our radio affiliates here in Fairfield County. Well, the clock on the wall says we've got to go. Until next week, same time, same place. If you're out there driving, buckle up. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.